Well, he went for it and he almost had it. So close to getting that goalie goal. What's cracking, everybody, and welcome back to Kraken R&R, where the Seattle Kraken do win this game in spite of Decor not quite able to get it across the goal line. 3-1 against the Chicago Blackhawks as they remain unbeaten in regulation at home. Now 4-0-2, so pretty good home record so far, and take care of business in the first of these two games against young, very beatable teams that do happen to be playing pretty well at the moment. They've got a San Jose team coming in that is also young and very talented and playing pretty well at the moment. But the Kraken, an opportunity to get a couple wins here, and they get the first of them against a Blackhawks team that had been on a bit of a roll coming into Seattle. And I mean, the Kraken have been playing pretty well as well. They are coming into this game with the best first 11 game stretch to start a season in franchise history, a 5-2-4 record. But the last couple of games, while they had picked up 2 points with overtime losses, they have not been generating a whole lot of offense. In fact, they had the fewest shots on goal by a pretty decent margin, with just 13 in the previous game against the Rangers. And the game before that, yeah, they do erase a 3-0 deficit in the third to come back and get at least an overtime point in that one. But coming into that third period, they only had 10 shots on goal. So, yeah, you're kind of looking at one real period of offense in the last two games. And I suppose you have the opportunity to just completely shut the Blackhawks down and find a goal somewhere along the way. But you're going to need to find a way to generate a little bit more offense than what they had been doing to this point, even if you are playing very good at your own end of the ice. And of course, one of the ways you can do that, or at least try to get things headed in the right direction, is to mix up the lines a little bit in the forward end and see if some different combinations can spark something, find a combination that just can get on a roll. And the Kraken definitely do that, as they actually send Berkeley Catton down to the fourth line, but in order to play the center role for the first time in the NHL, at least in meaningful minutes. For Berkeley, he gets to play that center spot. And it went fairly well. I mean, he doesn't get a ton of time down there, and obviously it's fourth line, so not the highest skill line ever. But I thought it went well. He still ends up moving back up to the line on Benier's wing with Eberle and Beniers towards the end of the game. But yeah, nothing terrible necessarily there. It just doesn't really, I think, spark the offense in the way that they might have been hoping it would. Tolvanen, by the way, taking that spot up on Benier's wing alongside or on the other side of Eberle. But even with that being said, it's hard to say how much help just a couple tweaks here and there of the lines is really going to give to spark something offensively. It's better than not trying at all, I suppose. But we've seen this team, even if it's happening mostly during games, tweaking lines here and there, shuffling things around in a second or third period once nothing has really been generated through the start of the game. So a much more surefire way then is to just emphasize to the team to shoot the puck when you have an opportunity. Stop waiting for the perfect screen or the perfect shooting lane or the perfect passing combination to get a good shot off. Just fire pucks at the net. And yeah, it definitely would help if you could get some bodies out in front of the net to try to increase the chances of something good happening. But yeah, shooting the puck even without a body in front of the net is still better than not shooting it at all. And it seems like some message along those lines must have gotten across to the team as we get into the game, because they come out of the gates looking like they want to just get the shot total to a place that we didn't see it last night before we even get halfway through the first period. As within the first few minutes of the game, they're shooting at least once per minute. I think they had 5-6 shots on goal in the first 5 minutes, first half of this first period. It was just a shooting gallery in Chicago's end of the ice. Meanwhile, the Blackhawks are getting nothing back the other way. So it's nice to see the team, I mean, for a while they're looking like they're going to outshoot all of last game in the first period alone. Now, mind you, not too many of these shots, in fact, not more than one, maybe two of them here in this early part of the first period are even medium danger, never mind high danger opportunities. It's a lot of shots from the outside without really even all that much traffic up and around the net, so a lot of fairly low danger opportunities, but they are, again, at the very least, opportunities. And yeah, by the point we're halfway through the first period, the Kraken already had 9 shots on goal, I think, halfway through the first period. So you're looking like a pretty good chance that they are going to get past last game's shot total even through overtime in the first period alone. But then the Blackhawks end up getting the first power play of the game, which the Kraken do a very good job actually of killing off. There was one decent look they got very early on in the power play, but after that, the Kraken gave them nothing else to go off of. But with this penalty kill, even if it's successful for the Kraken, does end up doing is really slowing down the momentum that they had built offensively here through the first half of the first. And through the back half of it, they end up with one shot on goal, I think, through the entire back half of the first. So yeah, kind of immediately then just right back to what we had seen from most of at least the last two games, if not more than that, where the Kraken just could not generate offensive opportunities. And even when they were in the offensive end, just choosing to not shoot the puck. Still, you end up at the end of the first period with the score still 0-0 and the Kraken with 10 shots on goal. So even if it was only for half a period, the Kraken were finally showing some, at least, willingness to make the opposing goaltender work a little bit. Meanwhile, back the other way, as we start the second period, Chicago is starting to generate a little bit of offensive momentum, or at the very least, they're getting more and more time with the puck and spending more time in the Kraken end of the ice. But then a few minutes into the second, against the flow of play, the Kraken get down to Chicago's end, kind of cycle the puck once. It's the fourth line that gets in on a forecheck. And I think this was almost more of the Kraken just trying to pin the puck in for a little bit so that they can roll a change. And I mean, great if the puck's still in the offensive end. Once you get the change finished, then maybe try and make something happen. But eventually the puck ends up in the corner by the blue line, right in front of the Kraken bench on the stick of Jamie Alexiak. And I don't know if he's going off on a change or if he just come on the ice. I can't remember exactly. Either way, he just kind of from, way up in the corner, just fires a really not even that hard of a shot. A pretty lazy shot from way up in the corner on net. Doesn't hit anybody on the way, but somehow finds its way into the back of the net past Soderblom. It looked like maybe he had been screened as this shot was taken, so I suppose Alexiak just sees the goaltender, doesn't really have a good look at him with the puck, so he decides, what the heck, I'll throw a puck down there, and who knows, maybe a miracle happened, and sure enough, that's just what happens. Even Alexiak seems like he can't believe that that puck found its way into the net, but this is a perfect example of why even low danger chances are better than no chances at all. This is about as low danger a chance as you can possibly get while still in the offensive end. And it found a way to go off the bottom of Soderblom's glove and into the back of the net to give the Kraken that 1-0 lead, and Alexiak his second of the season. Once again, though, the Kraken not really able to generate much as far as offensive momentum out of this. The Blackhawks are still kind of getting the better of the flow of play. It's not, all Blackhawks, and I wouldn't say that they're necessarily building a ton of momentum, but the ice is, I would say, slightly tilted in their favor right up until the Kraken get their first power play of the game, and it's a pretty soft call. It's Marchment taking a bit of a dive after he actually is the one that ends up kicking Donato's skate. He's kind of cut in front of Donato as they transition through the neutral zone, and just, I don't think that this is a trip at all, but Marchment sells it. They call it. Donato to the box, the Kraken to the power play, and within seconds, the Kraken win the face-off, get the puck down deep to Eberle, pass it from one side to the other up by the blue line. Then it's Tolvanen who gets it down to Eberle along the goal line. Eberle looks over one shoulder, doesn't really see a way that he can get it to Beniers, who's coming down into the slot over that shoulder, so instead just whips it around backhand the other way, out right to Beniers onto his tape, and Beniers fires off the shot and buries it into the far side of the net. A pretty well-placed shot as Soderblom has kind of started to get back and had his blocker out, but it gets, I think it was under his blocker over the pad, a pretty perfectly placed shot from Beniers on what turned out to be a smaller window than it might have looked like in live action or before the shot is taken. Either way, Beniers picks up his second of the season. The Kraken have a 2-0 lead. A multi-goal lead that has not been something the Kraken have had a whole lot of this season. I suppose they did have a 2-goal lead, 2-0 for 9 minutes, and then it was 3-1 for 2 minutes of the game against the Oilers to start out this homestand. But aside from that, if you don't count the empty netters at the end of the road trip against Winnipeg, it's been a pretty long time since the Kraken played any significant amount of time with a multi-goal lead, and they just haven't done it very much this season at all. So yeah, nice to have that extra insurance goal just in case something happens back the other way. Or let's just say, for example, you send the opposing team to 2 power plays in a short span of time, which is exactly what the Kraken do right after scoring this power play goal. It doesn't take very long at all for what I'm going to say was probably a makeup call to get called back the other way, as Beniers gets called for a hook that I have to say I didn't see much of a hook there, but I suppose fair's fair, 2 wrongs make a right. No, I'm not actually sure that that's how the saying goes. I don't think that it's 2 wrongs make a right. I'm pretty sure it's 2 wrongs don't make a right, but this is just how they do NHL officiating. Has been for a long time, so let's not act surprised, but yeah, it's a pretty obvious, to me at least, makeup call. Beniers ends up heading to the box. Blackhawks to their second power play in the game, and this one, the Kraken do a very good job of killing off right until the end, where there's a little bit of, it gets a little dicey in the last few seconds, but they're able to survive that and get back to 5-on-5, where Beniers and Eberle nearly connect on a rush. Beniers threads the needle on a pass across to Eberle. A very well placed shot is just met with an even better save, going full splits, stretching the toe out to the far side. Soderblom's able to shove the puck. I think he pins it with his skate on the post, prevents it from going in. So Eberle gets absolutely robbed there, preventing the Kraken from taking a 3-0 lead. And then they send the Blackhawks to another power play, which the Kraken do their best job yet of killing off. So they end up going 3 for 3 on the penalty kill, or, they prevent the Blackhawks from scoring in all 3 opportunities they get on the power play, which is one of the best nights the penalty kill has had all season. So a good night for the special teams all around. You go 1 for 2 on the power play and you kill all 3 opposing power plays. Yeah, not a bad night. And it definitely feels good to be going into the third period with the multi-goal lead, which has been since maybe the Anaheim game that they've gone into a third period with a multi-goal lead. That was the first game of the season. I could look that up and confirm it, but even the game against the Oilers, they managed to score 1 late in the second, so you're still going into the third with just the 1-goal lead, and this team has given up a couple of 1-goal leads to force overtime back the other way. So yeah, nice to have those 2 goals, and the Kraken actually come out in the third period, and it's one of the best stretches of 5-on-5 that they have throughout this entire game. One of the best stretches of 5-on-5 they've had in a few games now, really this entire homestand, or at least going back to the Edmonton game again, which went pretty well for the Kraken. But over the last couple of games, they had not played particularly well at 5-on-5, and this third period does start out pretty well for the Kraken. Right up until after one more flurry of action, Capo Caco has a couple chances. One of them I think he puts off of a post, just can't quite get one to go, as he definitely looked a little bit better. I'm sure he's still getting the full skate legs or ice legs, not really sea legs, but he's getting back into the flow of it, knocking the rust off. The last game, you didn't really notice him a ton in his first game back in the last one against the Rangers, but he had a few more good opportunities in this one. Still, he isn't able to get it to go, and then back the other way, it turns into a bit of a rush for the Blackhawks. It's Bedard with the puck up along the boards, and Larson just goes to kind of press him along the boards, not give him any space, but he's still able to get a pass out into the middle of the Kraken end of the ice, where unfortunately for the Kraken, the only player pretty much in the Kraken end of the ice other than Bedard, who's making the pass, and Larson, who's right up in his face, is Andrei Burakovsky, wide open in the middle of the slot. He gets that pass clean, makes one look, picks his spot, and pushes it under the pad of Decord to give the Blackhawks their first goal and break up the shutout, where Decord had a fantastic game going. Burakovsky picks up his already 5th of the season, as he's on pace to not only surpass any single season he had with the Kraken, but the entirety of his time with the Kraken, which did span 2 seasons where he was out for half the season with injury. But Burakovsky is thriving on a line with Bedard, similar to what we've seen Donato do over the last couple of years. Donato had 31 goals last season, playing a lot of it on a line with Bedard. So yeah, even if Bedard isn't necessarily lighting up the score sheet or, scoring the goals himself, I mean, this is his 10th assist of the season, so he's certainly bringing some guys along with him. And yeah, of course, in this particular case, it just had to be Burakovsky in his return to Seattle for the first time, who gets the goal and capitalizes on another good play offensively from Bedard. At the very least, though, the Kraken are able to prevent that from building any more momentum for the Blackhawks, who had kind of started to slow the Kraken down a little bit at that point and maybe even build a little bit of momentum leading up to that quick turnaround goal and rush for them. But the Kraken shut off at the pass any more real chances that the Blackhawks get. They don't really get any other good looks the rest of this game. And it does help that the Kraken retake the multi-goal lead only a couple minutes after this goal from Burakovsky on another rush chance off of a nice play in the neutral zone from Matty Beniers, who's able to poke the puck as he kind of he's skating backwards with the Chicago player carrying the puck up behind him, and then just kind of swings his stick out behind him, pokes it off of, I think it was Nazer's stick, gets into his feet, and then is able to poke it out of Nazer's feet out to Eberle, who starts a breakout the other way, or kind of a 2-on-1 rush. He's got Tolvanen on the far side, but he looks off Tolvanen, fires off the shot himself, and buries it into the net. Far side to get himself the goal that he was robbed of earlier and give the Kraken back that multi-goal lead, making it 3-1. Eventually the Blackhawks would get the goaltender pulled to get a little 6-on-5 action, but they really never get much of anything in 6-on-5. But that doesn't mean that 6-on-5 wasn't without its entertaining moments, as there's one point where the Blackhawks dump it in. It's not a particularly hard dump in. Decord is able to get it cleanly behind the net, looks around, sees that he has some time, gets it on his stick, fires off the shot, it's online, gets past everybody, but just doesn't quite have the speed to get all the way to the net. Blackhawk player is able to catch up to it and stop it right around the middle of the slot, still a probably solid 10-15 feet away from the net. So Decord, unfortunately, just didn't quite get enough on it speed-wise, but he had it dead centered. After the game, he said that he couldn't see that last Blackhawk player, so he thought that he had cleared everybody, and with it online, he thought he had it until, well, it was obvious that it had been picked up by a Blackhawk, and then the boos start raining down because the fans obviously wanted them to just let it coast into the net, which actually, as far as that's concerned, and what Decord had to say about it after the game, he was very excited to get to talking about that shot on goal. I don't know if he just organically misinterpreted the question that was asked to him, but he was kind of asked about what it's like playing with a multi-goal lead, since they hadn't been doing a lot of that recently as a goaltender. And his immediate response was, "What you mean as far as shooting the puck is concerned?" And he's like, "That's not really where we're going with it, but yeah, sure, as far as shooting the puck at the empty net." And yeah, he was quite excited to talk about his shot on goal. He had another one a little bit later where it's a shot on net that it's not that hard of a shot, so an easy save for him to make with the stick itself. And then he's got a Blackhawk kind of crashing towards him, so he has to fire off a little bit more of a fast reaction shot, and that one ends up going way off the mark to the side, hitting the boards before I think it even gets into the Blackhawks end. So that one never had any chance of actually making it, but you could tell Decord got a little bit of a taste, and for a second there thought he had it, but unfortunately that wasn't meant to be. In this one, we'll have to wait. He does still have the one assist this season, but we'll have to wait for the goal, at least for now. I mean, with the Kraken playing close games, if they do have late leads, he will probably have chances. The goaltender's probably going to be pulled more often than not if the Kraken are leading late, since they're not likely to have very many 3-4 goal leads in the waning minutes of a game when a team is not going to even bother pulling their goaltender. But even in spite of the disappointingly just short of a goalie goal opportunity that had everything but the speed needed to get there, the Kraken still managed to win this one 3-1 in regulation. Their first multi-goal win without an empty netter since actually the first game against the Ducks, where they won that one 3-1 as well. They didn't actually have a 2-0 lead in that one. They went 1-0, then tied at 1, then they scored the next two in the second and third to win that one 3-1. But yeah, since then, it's been all one-goal games for the Kraken as far as the ones that they pick up points in, whether that's a win or an overtime loss. I mean, obviously, the overtime wins are going to be one-goal games. The only other exception where the Kraken won by more than one goal is, again, that game in Winnipeg where the last two were empty netters, so it's essentially a 1-0 game where you got the couple of extra ones there while Winnipeg was trying to even it up. So for the Kraken, it's good to see them take care of business against a Blackhawks team that, even though they were coming in, again, playing pretty well, think this is a team that if the Kraken do see themselves as a team that has a realistic shot of keeping some of this early momentum, picking up enough points where you can make a run at getting into the playoffs, the Blackhawks are definitely a team you still need to beat, even if they are playing some of the best hockey they've played in some number of years now, certainly since they got Bedard on their roster. You still need to take care of business in these games, and it's good to see them get that multi-goal win. Still maybe not necessarily the overwhelming amount of offense that you would have liked to see, the full turnaround offensively that you would have liked to see from the previous game. I mean, they do end up with 24 shots on goal, which still seems a bit on the low side. I mean, it's too short of double what you had in the entire previous game with overtime included, so it's definitely a step in the right direction. But it would, especially against a San Jose team that's been giving up a lot of goals this season, coming up on Wednesday, it'd be nice to see the Kraken take another big step forward offensively, maybe even get a fourth or fifth. Maybe we even get crazy and go for a sixth goal in that game. I don't know. We'll find out. The Sharks are also coming in, playing certainly the best they have so far in this young season. They're actually getting a couple wins here and there. They beat Colorado. I think they even beat New Jersey. So a couple of pretty decent wins for the Sharks. It's definitely a team that if the Kraken are playing sloppy, especially in their own end of the ice, they are young and talented and quick, so they can make you pay for mistakes if you make them. But as long as the Kraken can play some solid defense and be ready to pounce on mistakes that the Sharks make, those also should definitely be there. Hopefully the Kraken can just actually turn that into offensive opportunities that they put on net and force the goaltender to do his job. Still, even with all that said, there's still a lot to like about this game. The Kraken get another win at home. They remain unbeaten, at least in regulation at home. They have points in all 6 home games so far, and hopefully can continue that against another team in San Jose that, while they're playing well coming in, this is a very beatable team. And again, the type of team you need to pick up those points and take care of business if you see yourself as a playoff team, especially as the schedule will get much more difficult down the stretch later on in the season. You need to get these points early on while the schedule is a little bit easier as far as the strength of opponents that you're playing against. And as long as they keep playing solid in their own end of the ice, which was mostly good in this game, there's a couple of chances from the slot type of area, which is not something we've seen this team do a pretty good job of, keeping chances mostly to the outside, with obviously some exceptions here and there. But this game was not their worst. They weren't, I wouldn't say necessarily sloppy in their own end, but there were some more chances, somewhat like the game against the Rangers, chances that against a better team or maybe a slightly better bounce here or there could have definitely ended up past Decord. He had to make a couple of pretty nice saves throughout the course of this game as well. Still, as long as you can play the style of defense that you want to play, do a good job keeping things to the outside, and get the goaltending you need, which you're getting from Decord, you should be able to beat teams like San Jose, Chicago, and some of these other teams you're going to face over the course of November. And it also helps that your power play is playing the best that it's ever played to start a season, and your penalty kill at the very least has had a couple of pretty good games in a row, even if it hasn't necessarily gotten off to the best start as a whole. At least for this game, though, special teams were definitely a big upside for the Kraken. And with that, I think we can start to close this one out with the Kraken 3 stars. As always, brought to you by the patrons over on Patreon. If you do want to help decide 3 stars for the Kraken in every regular season or playoff game, you can help support a little bit more than you already are by watching to this point by going to the link down below and supporting over on Patreon as well. With the first star, I think the 3 stars for me are somewhat obvious, and Patreon for the most part agreed. The obvious 3 stars, what order they go in, I'm going to say Maddie gets the first star. I think Maddie had an absolutely fantastic game, gets the power play goal, also gets the assist on Eberle's goal that was the 3rd one for the game. Should have had another assist on that beautiful threading the needle pass to Eberle on the far side, where Eberle just gets absolutely robbed by a fantastic save. So otherwise, yeah, Beniers a fantastic game. I'll give him the first star. I'll go with Decord for the second star. I mean, it's Decord or Eberle. Eberle's going to end up getting the 3rd one here. I think you could go anyway with the 3 of them. For me, it's somewhat clear that it's Beniers, Eberle, and Decord. What order you want to put them in, I'll leave that up to you. For me, I'll go Beniers, Decord, Eberle. Maybe you want to put Decord first just because he got that close, 15 feet or so, but in the grand scheme of things, that close to getting that goalie goal. Still, the three of them all played fantastic. Some other guys, I mean, Tolvanen had a pretty good night on that line with Maddie and Ebbs. I thought Catton looked fairly decent in the time he got as a center, had some good moments there, but just not working with a lot. I mean, Ryan Winterton offers a lot on the defensive end. He had, I thought, a very good game on the kill. So he still has his moments, but the offensive side of it, I suppose he did have kind of a partial breakaway. He didn't get much of a chance. It's kind of a backhand shovel towards the net, so I don't had a great chance to score there, but he at least has his moments here and there. So yeah, I think we'll go with those 3 stars. Chris also mentioned Cartier, who I thought, yeah, he did have a good game. Definitely had some pretty good moments. A couple of kind of bobbles of the puck here and there, but overall, for a fourth liner, Cartier continues to play very well, and it's going to be very hard for them to take him out of the lineup. It's Ben Myers who gets the seat this game as Newman comes back in after taking a game off. We'll see what changes they might make going into the game against the Sharks, though, coming out of a win. I don't know how many changes we'll see in the lineup. Maybe they stick with more of the Catton on the first line that we saw towards the end of this game, rather than Catton centering the fourth line like we saw at the start of it. Time will have to tell. We'll also have to wait and see if Decord gets that start, or if they take a chance with a game against the Sharks to get Decord one more game's rest. At the same time, you do have 2 nights off in a row coming up after that. You got Thursday and Friday off, so maybe just say that's Decord's rest. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully they don't burn Decord out, and if you are going to try and get him some rest here and there, games like the one coming up against the Sharks are the type of game where you should be able to still win with a backup in net. Now, it's been a little dicey around the Kraken net at times, so who knows if that would happen. We'll just have to wait and see. Until next time, though, let me know what you think down in the comments section below, who your 3 stars would be, how you're feeling about how this season has gotten off to a start, what you think the team could be doing better, all that good stuff, and just thoughts in general down in the comments below. And until next time, stay safe out there, be good to each other, God bless, and go Kraken. Enough rambling from me.